This lecture is called The Working Cell. It's about some of the mechanisms by which all cells regulate their processes and modulate their processes. So let's get started. The first thing that I'd like to talk about are membranes. The plasma membrane surrounds all cells, whether they are bacterial, plant, animal, fungi, etc. And they are constituted of a phospholipid bilayer. The phospholipid contains a phosphate group, which here is indicated by a yellow ball, and the lipid part are two long fatty acid tails that are hydrophobic. So what this does is it creates a hydrophobic region that helps to separate the inside of the cell from the outside of the cell. Now, in order to facilitate the movement of substances between the outside and the inside of the membrane, we have specialized proteins called transmembrane proteins. There are many other different proteins that are embedded on the cells. Some of them are glycoprotein and are responsible for cell-cell signaling. Others are involved in holding cells together, so they have many different functions. Working cells have to control the flow of materials from one side to the other. Passive transport occurs through the process of diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. So in panel A, this is passive transport of a single type of red dye molecule across a membrane. The molecules of dye move from the left-hand side to the right-hand side until they reach equilibrium. The movement of the particles is via Brownian motion, and it relates to how much energy is in the liquid. So a colder liquid will have slower movement of the molecules, whereas warmer liquid will have a faster movement of those molecules. The second panel shows the passive transport of two different dye molecules. And what you'll notice in the equilibrium picture is that the red molecules have moved down their concentration gradient from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, and then the blue molecules have moved from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Equilibrium is when you have approximately the same number of particles on either side. Osmosis is a special type of diffusion. It's the diffusion of water across a selectively permeable membrane. So a selectively permeable membrane will only let water pass from one side to the other. And the plasma membrane is a good example of a selectively permeable membrane. It has transmembrane proteins called aquaporins that allow water molecules to move freely from one side to the other. In the picture on the left, you see solutions that vary in their strength. The sugar molecule is the solute, and the water is the solvent. On one side of the selectively permeable membrane, on the left-hand side, you have a very mild sugar solution, or a weak sugar solution. That means that you've got more water. It's called a hypotonic solution. On the right-hand side, you have a very strong sugar solution, which means that there's less water in it. That's a hypertonic solution. Now, osmosis is the movement of water down its concentration gradient from high water concentration to low water concentration. A high water concentration means that you have a weaker sugar concentration. So in this illustration, the water is going to move from the left-hand side to the right-hand side until the concentration of water is at equilibrium between the two sides. At equilibrium, the solutions are referred to as isotonic. That means that they have the same tonicity, the same amount of water. All cells depend on regulating the amount of water within them. In animal cells, a normal red blood cell will have an equivalent amount of water going into it as leaving it. If you put a red blood cell into distilled water, what would happen is water would move down its concentration gradient from the distilled or pure water into the saltier water of the inside of the cell. The cell would fill and fill with water molecules until, like a balloon, it would burst, and this is called lysing. On the other hand, if you put that red blood cell into a very strong salt solution, the water from the inside of the cell would leave to the outside of the cell, and the red blood cell would be shriveled. Plants have a different way of coping with water balance. Plant cells, in addition to having a plasma membrane, also have a cell wall made out of cellulose. The cellulose cell wall prevents the cell from lysing or bursting when it's put into pure water, and the plant becomes turgid. A great example of this are carrots in your refrigerator. If your carrots are not put into the crisper and you just leave it out, after a short amount of time, water will leave the carrot and the carrot will become shriveled and flaccid. If you want to have that carrot get its crunch back, what you do is you put your carrot into some water, and after a few minutes to an hour, the water will have moved to the inside of the cell and will create a turgid cell, and those turgid cells will be crispy. Another very important part of the working cell are enzymes. There are thousands and thousands of chemical reactions that occur within cells, and these are facilitated by enzymes. Enzymes are biological catalysts, and they allow reactions to proceed with a lower activation energy. Enzymes are made out of protein and can be reused over and over again. Each one of these proteins is coded for by a strand of DNA, and this will become very important later in the semester, because if you have a mutation in a strand of DNA that codes for a protein, it may alter the shape of your enzyme. And enzymes work like a lock and a key and are specific to each chemical reaction. If the active site of an enzyme is changed, it may not have the right shape, and as a result, it may not be able to facilitate the chemical reaction within the cell. There are thousands and thousands of human genetic disorders that arise from errors in enzymes caused by changes in DNA strands. An enzyme can be inhibited or stopped from being active in a number of different ways. An inhibitor can bind to the active site, preventing the enzyme from being able to interact with its substrate, or an enzyme can be deactivated by changes in pH, that's the acidity of a solution, or by temperature, which is one of the reasons why we worry about our children when they start to get very high temperatures, which we call a fever. Because if your temperature gets too high, the enzymes in your body will change shape and they will no longer be able to interact with the chemical reactions that are needed for life to proceed. One of the most important chemical reactions is called cellular respiration. Now, when you read your textbook, you'll learn that there are several different forms of respiration, but we're going to focus on aerobic respiration in this lecture. For aerobic respiration, you start with two compounds. We've got glucose and oxygen. They undergo a series of chemical reactions, here represented by 4 black arrows, and the resulting products are carbon dioxide gas, which is a waste, water, which is a waste, and ATP, which is a molecule that contains chemical energy that is used for work in the cell. This work may include making new DNA, making new cells, making new molecules, moving packets of chemicals from one part of a cell to another. It's used for all of the work that is required within cells. ATP is a very important molecule. It is made out of adenosine triphosphate. So triphosphate means that it's got 3 phosphate groups that are attached to one another. The energy is stored between the last 2 phosphates. And so ATP actually goes from being a triphosphate molecule to being a diphosphate molecule and releasing that small amount of energy for work. It functions in what we call energy coupling. They're basically like rechargeable batteries. An ATP molecule is broken into adenosine diphosphate, releasing energy for work, and an ADP is recharged through the process of cellular respiration to create more ATP. Cells and auto engines use a very similar process to make the chemical energy to do work. In a combustion engine in a car, you take fuel that's rich in chemical energy such as gasoline, and you take oxygen, and you release heat energy and the energy of movement when the pistons are moved within the engine. The waste products are carbon dioxide and water. In the cell, it's fundamentally the same. You have glucose and oxygen that are processed by the process of cellular respiration, creating heat energy, and instead of kinetic energy of movement, that energy within glucose is transformed into the chemical energy within ATP, and the waste products are carbon dioxide and water.